Presentations in our conversation today. We're going to start off with Les, who is a great example of somebody trained as an architect who's become essentially a polymath, a multidisciplinary expert. He's built machines that make Anish Kapoor's sculptures. So if any of you guys have seen kind of the crazy geometries there, you can imagine what it's like to build the machines that make that stuff. He's the CEO and founder of MetaMason, and is going to educate us right now on the future of this paradigm-changing experience that we're all going through and kind of the new pedagogy that's going to arise from this. So, Les, take it away.
So the revolution in distributed manufacturing is not what you think it is. Who here thinks that a wave of mass customization is about to hit that will affect everything from fashion to cars? That what we're calling reality computing could really be a new era of human communication, one where our traditional notions of the boundaries between digital and physical start to blur, where we can use big data and biomimicry to simulate and optimize products, where we say the hell with great products. Let's make perfect products for every user and for every use case. It's a future where products can become second skins, skins that help us sleep easier, run faster, play harder, and be safer, skins that we love as much as our own. But there's a catch. Without a major disruption to how we think about designing, engineering, and making products, none of these things is going to happen. See, the thing is, perfect products that we're dreaming of cannot be designed by humans. They can only be designed by algorithms. And that means dramatic changes to how we do things. At the Inside 3D Printing Expo last summer, Jeff Kowalski told us that 3D printing pretty much sucks right now. That we're trapped in the trough of disillusionment, that printers are in danger of not living up to the hype because they're not useful for most people. As a 3D entrepreneur, this was a very painful thing to hear. But I have to admit that Jeff was spot on. His talk was a wake-up call. We can't pin our hopes on incremental improvements. What we need is a dramatic shift in thinking to get us over this hump. That shift is called metamodernism. I'm here to talk to you about what it looks like, how it affects your business, and what it brings to the 3D landscape. For those of us who love 3D printing right now, for the most part, we're geeks and enthusiasts, willing to put up with the temperamental machines and all of their flaws. We look past the failed builds and difficult software because we're captivated of the possibilities of an on-demand, distributed manufacturing revolution. We know that printers are hard to use and that CAD software is too, and that the technology is too intimidating for non-designers or engineers who are still trying to figure out if it can do anything useful for them. People keep talking about this mythical killer app that's supposed to come and ignite our industry, that's supposed to bring the technology to consumers in a way that they want and can use, but where is it? Autodesk has taken some major initiatives in trying to bring new people into the 3D fold with their 123D apps. But we all know that there's still a major 3D content creation problem, and access to the tech is limited to people like us. Anyone else starting to feel like we're kind of reminiscent of the Homebrew Computer Club? That we're getting so buried in our engineering silos that we're geeking out on the latest incremental price drop in scanning or CAD or printing that we've lost sight of the forest through the trees. Don't get me wrong, I'm just as enthusiastic about this tech as anybody else here, but I'd originally planned to do my talk on a deep dive with you on the latest and greatest innovations in printing and scanning in CAD. I was going to wax poetic about everything from printing electronics to sugar, to point out that today sub-$1,000 3D scanners are outperforming $30,000 ones from 5 years ago. To mention that by year's end, Intel's RealSense scanning chip will be in almost every new tablet and laptop, and that VR is here, and so is holograms, and they're getting awesome, and they're better, but if you're here, you know this. And if you don't, do a quick lap around outside. It's a pretty inspiring conference. But if I sat here and focused on the tech, I'd be guilty of the very problem I'm trying to point out. It's a familiar one, the siloing problem. If we look at how things tend to function in our second industrial revolution economy, what we see is a problem gets observed by design They come up with a solution, they kick it over the wall to engineering, they apply whatever tech they think they're most excited about at the time. Sooner or later, the C-levels say, go get it made. They toss it down to supply chain and manufacturing, and design and engineering is lucky if they ever see that product again. If there are big shifts in demand, warehouses will have to be emptied before they're really addressed. These walls have grown out of our mass-produced, long lead time, long development cycle, high tooling cost past. Many of us here like to focus on what it will mean when printing disrupts supply chains. We dream of on-demand products spewing from automated manufacturing systems. We contemplate what it will mean when a product's physical existence is separated and disintermediated from what that design is. But we seldom think about what similar changes will mean for design and engineering. What happens if we start to automate those? To frame the problem in a different way, if we look back to the desktop publishing revolution that many of us consider the birth of modern tech, it started with three major enabling pieces of technology: fax machines, PCs, and laser printers. For the millennials in the room, there was a time when making these things work, let alone work together, was a real pain in the ass. But the revolution didn't come because of the hardware. It came because of the software that tied them together. It was Excel, it was Photoshop, it was Word. It was things that just made the tools work, allowing people to focus on what they wanted to make, not the tools for making the content. The ideological movement that we're calling metamodernism boils down to just that: a curation of immigration similar to what we saw in these early days of personal computing. Whether you call it fax, edit, publish, or capture, compute, create, or as we do at my startup MetaMason, scan, fit, print, it's fundamentally an issue of automating these actions of creation. Philosophically speaking, we can call these actions the pillars of metamodernism: input, interface, instantiate. We take data in, we manipulate it, we give it purpose, we push it back out in the world. The power is in automating that. That means making pipelines that make the tech just work, so the user isn't thinking about the technology, they're just thinking about the content. The practice of integrating digital technology into design is something that started with our postmodern architectures. They revolutionized design that were groundbreaking for 3D manufacturing, and their early innovation can be described in terms of exploration, parameterization, and CNC fabrication. You'll probably recognize some of the forebearers who blazed the trail. So Frank, pretty comfortable in his own disruptive skin. So if I ball up this piece of paper, how long does it take me to 3D model this form? How long would that take me to 3D model on machines 15 years ago? But by digitizing little scraps of paper, Frank was able to come up with forms that were well beyond our capability and imagination at the time. Zaha Hadid was the pioneer of generative design techniques. Her mastery of parameterization showed us that using algorithms to generate design doesn't create stale monotony, but it creates beautiful forms that are alluring, natural, and organic. In contrast, Anish Kapoor's work worships the simplicity of geometric perfection. I used to design custom CNC robots to build sculpture for Anish at a firm across the river and across the bridge in Oakland called PSI. To produce each sculpture at aerospace levels of precision, we had to build our own CNC tools and then go back and forth between manipulating the work, digitizing it, and then remanipulating it until we'd gotten to geometric perfection. That's the lens from which I see our ecosystem, that integrated approach. The automated design practices pioneered during early postmodernism are responsible for how we design and manufacture today. We've heard a lot of great talks at this conference, and I would say that all of them are exemplary examples of metamodernism at work, but there are three examples that I'd like to focus on specifically. First is Keegan Schoenberg and her company Souls. They've created a curated app that creates custom orthotics for people from tablets and smartphone cameras. Then I'd say the most impressive example of a 3D content creation tool are the GUIs developed by Nervous Systems, enabling everyday users to create interesting and customized pieces of jewelry with a beautiful and interesting UX that was developed by Jesse Rosenkrantz and Jessica Rosenberg. And then lastly, an example that gets used a lot in this conference are the heat exchangers and optimization tools designed by Within Technologies. Sivash Madhavi and his team are in a league unto themselves for how to use automated software processes to create things that humans could never imagine. Gathering data, designing and fabricating don't have to be 3 separate steps anymore. By integrating data acquisition, algorithmic design, and fabrication into one simultaneous process, the meta-modernist approach informs designs which are truly useful that solve real-world problems effectively, efficiently, and creatively. That's the point, to give people tools that allow them to make useful things without having to be a designer or engineer. To give them tools that allow them to make things that just happen, just work. The siloing issue I mentioned earlier has led to a proliferation of beautifully useless 3D printed products. As the technology evolves, our geeked out mantles get filled with ever finer, higher resolution thermoplastic tchotchkes. Or as my friend Anouk Winprecht, the designer of the dress of my first slide, likes to say, it's time for us to stop printing bullshit. So where can we focus customization to actually provide some serious value? Medical devices are an obvious starting point for the mass customization revolution. The production of generic mass-produced shapes is the direct cause of discomfort, pain, and problematized user experiences that lead patients to quit their therapies. Personalized on-demand solutions can be more than beautiful, they can be life-changing. And the immediate popularity of custom-fit hearing aids and Invisalign braces, 2 of the best-selling products within our industry, are examples that customized solutions in medicine can succeed in unprecedented ways. Clearly, medicine is a place where personalized solutions can create value, along with the margins that justify a one-off approach. The human face is perhaps the most sensitive and unique from person to person, and therefore most in need of customization. Also, from an economic standpoint, the parts of the face are small and therefore cheapest to print. And given that the ears and mouth were taken, my startup MetaMason decided to focus on the nose. We saw a major opportunity with sleep apnea, or more specifically, the treatment for sleep apnea, the unpopular but wildly effective Darth Vader snuffleupagus mask known as CPAP. With 1 in 4 men and 1 in 9 women currently suffering from apnea today, but with a quit rate of 50%, this was the perfect place for a meta-modernist overhaul. We're working with cutting-edge partners, building an integrated platform which starts with a 3D scan of the face. We apply our parametric design algorithms for a completely conformal mask that's customized by the user. And to enable this integrated solution, we at MetaMason created a process for 3D printing medical-grade silicone, something we like to call investment molding. The result is a radical departure from conventional CPAP, one that's soft and comfortable, designed intelligently, and fits perfectly. We're pretty excited about some of the technology we see coming through the pipe, especially some of the things happening at Autodesk Labs right now, like Saturn and Dreamcatcher and Cyborg. And we're very excited about the opportunity to be able to apply those tools to do one-off optimization so that we can optimize the pneumatic flow of our masks, that we can dial in the materials based on thermal scans of our patients' faces so that each mask fits perfectly and gently but never leaks. Our goal is to do one-off engineering for every user so that we can make every product as perfect as we possibly can. But there's a lot more to explore. We're in the process of developing our ScanFit print app that puts an integrated design process into the hands of doctors and patients. And that second skin thing I mentioned earlier, that's where the future comes in. As printers get bigger and more complex, as will the things that we can print. I'm here to say that the perfect product future means automating design and engineering along with automating manufacturing. Maybe it scares you, surrendering control to algorithms and software. But by doing so, we can do something that's never happened before, true personalization. Not just something that's customized for you, but something that's on-demand engineered for you, designed for you, optimized and simulated for you, based on who you are, what you do, and what you want. A way for you to create yourself. And that's what I want, for all of you to become meta-modernists, harnessing a robust ideology of integrated customization to make perfect on-demand products for people. 3D printing has too long been guilty of overpromising more than it can deliver. So let's unsilo. Let's integrate our disparate components into beautiful, useful machines that empower everyday people's lives. Let's make the future arrive. Let's bring this all together in a way that just works, that more than works, that creates itself. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.